Hi there again. In this next video, we will cover the anatomy of Kazakh horsebows. And basically, obviously, as part of this Asiatic recurved biocomposite horsebow family, Kazakh horsebows were pretty much exactly like the others horsebows, and no surprises here to those who know about it. But still, I will quickly go over it, and maybe for those who didn't know about it or just starting their horsebow adventure journey, we will quickly go over it. So basically, we can talk about two things here: the layers of the construction and the wooden core construction. Let's start with the wooden core. Basically, the Kazakhs used at least three types of known core designs. One of them is being three-part lesser horsebow. It's when the limbs, including Kasan eye and the siyahs, made as one piece, and the flexibility, because the shoulder of a lesser horsebow obviously has two fixed parts and one flexible part, and that flexible part is producing all the work, while the stiff parts, they pretty much don't bend. They remain stiff all of the time. So it's the flat portion, the flatter portion without a ridge, that does all the work, pulling and releasing. And in this particular design, it is made out of one piece of wood, basically to simplify, I guess, the production. So we get two of these and one handle. And handle usually, typically, or always is made out of heavier wood, because the heavier the handle is, the more stable the bow is, and because that part never moves, and because it serves as a sort of backbone of the whole structure, it has to be really strong. So always made of the hardest wood species available. But the limbs in the three-part design are made of softer wood to allow that for that flexible shoulder part. Another solution for the same lesser Kazakh horsebow design is five-part core, wooden core. This is when the handle and the siyahs, the ends, are made of similar or the same density hardwood species, while the shoulders, the flexible part, is made of flexible, softer wood species. And in this case, obviously, the idea is the same. The flexible wood part does all the work, while the handle and the siyahs, they don't bend. They just remain stiff at all times. And these are the two types of lesser horsebow. Now, when it comes to large Kazakh horsebow, uh, uh, I don't have information about using the three-part uh, core design, wood core design. I only know of five-part wood core design, and that's again, handle and siyahs are made of hardwood, and flexible parts, the shoulders, are made of softer wood, the one that's allowed for bending and unbending many times with a lot of give. So that's when it comes to wooden core structure design. Now the layers are again pretty much standard. They follow the evolution of the Han bow type, Remember how I told you earlier that the Han bow type was an optimization, simplification of the Saka or Scythian bow design. So all of the horn bows or horse bows of the following eras pretty much used Han design type as a base and just evolved, made it, optimized it even more. So by the time the Kazakh Hanate existed, we arrived to this classical design that pretty much was the apex of the evolution of this evolution. And we're talking about 4 layers. So one layer is a wooden core that I already covered. Another layer would be the horn stripes attached to the belly, the the part of the bow that's looking towards the archer when he's using the bow. And this horn stripe obviously produce, they help wood to unbend faster and more powerfully. And they always, because basically horn is kind of very similar to fiberglass. It has these fibers and this material that kind of encases these fibers, so it retains its shape and it returns into its shape every single time. Kind of works like a spring. For example, if it's not it's water resistant, so if a wooden core got wet, it would start losing its shape. It would start deforming, while the horn always keeps its shape. It's only subject to heat treatment. So the horn stripes help the bow to always return in its recurved position. Now the third layer would be the sinew layer, of course, and sinew is kind of like stretchy rubber kind of thing. Again, it's fibers. It has fibers, and they're oriented along the bow core's direction, and they act like they when the bow is pulled, they stretch, and then they immediately trying to return into their pre-stretched state. And along with the horn stripes, they add a lot of power to the wooden core, which otherwise it wouldn't have. So that's kind of, if we look at the core of the bow, the wooden core of the bow, as a frame that doesn't produce that much work, then it's the horn stripes and the sinew layer that produce most of the work, and they're responsible for the draw weight, for the speed, for the arrow release velocity, and etc. Now the fourth layer, and that comes from other sources, from I believe Adam Karpovich mentions it, that the glue layer that glues all these parts together is not just to hold them together, it acts as a distinctive layer, because in certain areas it's thick enough to kind of affect the entire structure in a certain way. We can also say, so that's the fourth layer, the glue. We can also say that the because the bows were covered either by tree birch or leather, so they also produce a sort of layer, but it doesn't affect the functionality of the bow, because their main function is to protect the bow from moist and heat and damage, physical damage. So that's what kind of a quick, brief review of the Kazakh horsebow's structure and design and anatomy. Now, a couple more things we can mention here is the tobershaks or string bridges. In Kazakh, they're called tobershak. And I compare them in my book with other known types of, for example, Korean, Turkey, Mongol types, basically. And obviously, there are two types. One of the lesser Kazakh horsebow or Crimean Tatar type would be very similar to Turkish bow string bridge. It's just like tiny little hoof, cow hoof or something. While the large Kazakh horsebow has the same string bridge as Manchu bow or modern Mongol bows. Although in certain Mongol horsebows of today, I've seen them, and I own one with enormously big string bridges, like very wide, kind of V-shaped, that wouldn't let the string go anywhere for sure. And another one that worth mentioning is the string nocks and how they were typically built and enforced. And we have a few options here. One of them obviously being Selfknock, which is just a little groove in the siyahs end where you put the string when you string a bow. Or it could be enforced by a strip of either sinew or leather right underneath the groove, so it prevents the end of it from breaking. In more powerful bows, they use either leather, kind of lining it with leather piece where the string would sit, or even use an insert like horn insert, because horn obviously is stronger and more durable than wood, more wear resistant, and it would serve longer. Or they could sometimes even make an entire end of siyah of one piece of one wedge of horn, as I've seen in some Manchu style bows. So the string doesn't even touch the wood, it only touches the horn. And also, one of the things that I kind of, the 2 cents I added from myself is when I compare the bow limb to person's limb, because when I was kind of studying its anatomy, one thing that struck me is that basically horsebow's limb, biocomposite bow's limb, is pretty much exactly the same as person's limb. Just like we have biceps and triceps and pulling and pushing muscles, kind of very similarly, and using almost the same materials, horn and sinew, obviously. It's very, very similar to a person's limb, and kind of makes you wonder whether it somehow affected this idea initially. Maybe they observed how the limbs work in animals or humans, and somehow they decided to apply this principle to a bow limb. So it's kind of a fascinating idea, because when I saw it, I thought this similarity is just so striking. It couldn't be a coincidence, or maybe it is. We probably will never find out. Anyways, this is it for this section, and in the next one we will talk about Kazakh bow arrows. Thank you.